Let me see. So here, trying to share my screen with you. And I wanted to show you this video. I mean, I've been for a while now. It's a video of a group of people at the Rio Suchiate, as you can see, Rio Suchiate, trying to cross the border from Guatemala into Mexico. And I thought that it was important for all of you to see it, okay? Because we need to see things and not only read things, right? We're very visual people nowadays. So here we go. And this notice is from, was posted on January 20th, 2020, so it's fairly recent.
Professor, I can't hear anything from the video.
It doesn't matter. You don't need to necessarily hear it. As long as you see it, we're doing fine.
Okay.
They're not going to talk to us. So this is the actual river, right, that we have been talking about for a couple of sessions. But I don't think we have seen at least any mention in the book as to how many people at the time may be trying to cross over to Mexico. And how is this happening? Well, you're seeing it. You're seeing the scenes of how many people are going this way and that way. I don't really know why, but you see people running, right, from one side to another for some reason. I think this is taken obviously from the Guatemalan side onto the Mexican side of the border. But you indeed can see some children and parents trying to hold on to their children as they attempt to cross. It's a video taken by just, I guess, anybody, somebody. It's not a professional video. And of course, one question we could have is why so many? Why so many? And I think that what they are naming this maybe for more than 2 years now, they're naming this caravans, right? Caravans, caravanas in Spanish. So large groups of people attempting to not only cross together, okay, cross over, but actually doing the whole journey together. And I've seen some of these caravans organized as demonstrations as well, going through different places or locations in Mexico. I just wanted to ask you, why are they attempting to cross now, not as, families, individual families, but as, I'm sorry, I need to stop this from playing.
Ella ha sido un milagro desde que nació. Una niña bien alegre, con gran corazón.
So does anybody, it's a logical reason, right? There is a logic to it. Why do you think we have this large group of people crossing over? Hello? Or did I lose you? Did I lose the class? Here we go. For a while, I was not looking at you. Okay. Anybody, any reason for this? large, quantity of people?
Maybe out of desperation, they might not be in a great situation.
Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, for sure. Yes. Any other reason?
The topic is like the migrant caravan or march, where they march in a large group to cross to the border.
Yeah, and the question is, yes, and the question is why? Why are they doing this, in such a large group?
I think that it's almost like if it's a lot of us, then at least some of us will be able to not get caught, and we'll all be able to. At least some of us will make it. If not me, then someone else. Kind of situation. Like, that's why they'll like kind of huddle up together, so then they could just go faster, and they won't like the migra or whoever's there won't have enough time to be able to, of course, catch everybody because it's so many people.
I agree. I think that's an important reason. Okay, so we are tons of people. They will catch some, but not all of us, and some of us will have the opportunity to continue on. I think that's right. I think there is another basic reason that I wanted to be explicit about: protection.
Yeah, protection. That's what I was gonna say. They feel like more secure when they're in larger groups, because we know the paths to cross the border is a very dangerous path. And if they're in larger groups, they avoid the cartels, the coyotes, and like every dangerous situation is minimized in larger groups.
Yes, and then maybe in addition, one can say they turn this situation into a human rights issue. Somehow, somebody has to respond to us for this. Okay, somebody has to pay attention to this issue. It cannot be that this is happening to such large community, and who is going to address it? Who is going and how, right? And internationally, somebody needs to respond to this situation. Therefore, look at us also, right? Look at us and look at what's happening to my children, my family, my husband, myself, and so on and so forth. As an individual, as like a family crossing over, who is going to pay attention to you as well internationally or nationally? So that's maybe an important reason. So I'm going to show you now Kate's video, and here segment is Staying Awake, and it begins on page 82. I hope this works out, okay? Because I'm not done it before, but it should be all right. Here we go. This is Kate. Oh, no, I need to share my screen with you first, step by step. Okay, here. And here's Kate. Hope you can all see her. And I should be able to play this video. Okay, maybe if I close this, okay, and here we go.
Okay, I'm here to talk to you about the section called Staying Awake in Enrique's Journey. The section really focuses on the gangsters Enrique has either heard about or comes into contact with on his journey to the US to find his mother. The chapter starts off with Enrique describing the train as this iron worm that squeaks, groans, and clanks, and attached there are black tankers, rust-colored boxcars, and gray hoppers winding north on a single track that parallels to the Pacific coast. I really like this quotation because I feel it allows me to paint a mental image in my head and allows me to see what Enrique is seeing on his journey and how dangerous it is. Enrique describes to us how the weather is very hot there. It's about 105 degrees. He explains how it has become very hard for him to hold on to the train because the metal rods are very hot and the sun is beating down on them all day. He introduces a new gang called the MS. They usually settle in Chiapas. The MS controls the tops of freight trains operating north of the Rio Suache, where many migrants going to the U.S. begin their journey through Mexico. He tells us how there are about 19 street gangs where each control a specific part of the train route and certain stations. The MS typically asks for money from other migrants as they promise them help to get to the U.S. And then during the journey, they break their promise and go on to the next migrant. These gangs usually carry machetes, knives, bats, lead pipes, and pistols to show their dominance over the migrants and to get their way. Enrique describes these gangs as very reckless because he knows that they carry drugs such as marijuana and cocaine in the headband of their baseball cap, and they're known to start up fights on top of the boxcars, and when they usually end up either killing the migrant or throwing the migrant off the moving train when they are not pleased. Enrique also tells us some of the names of the very dangerous street gangsters. He tells us there's this man named El Indio who controls the Guatemalan side of the border. There's a man named Blackie who is a chubby Salvadorian, has dark skin, and has MS tattooed on his forehead, so he's very recognizable. And his territory is from the border to Arrega, which is a town in northern Chiapas. He also tells us the names Allega, Homeboy, and Porky. Enrique has not yet come in contact with any of those dangerous men that are known as the most dangerous. Although on one of his journeys on the train, he does make an attempt to start a friendship with a gangster called El Brunio, and they do become friends. El Brunio soon introduces Enrique to many other MS gang members, and this is very different for Enrique because he usually stays away from the gangs because he knows what it entails to be a gang member and he doesn't agree with those things. It's his 7th trip and when the friendship breaks because the gang is in the midst of throwing a migrant off the train and Enrique refuses to help because he does not agree with this tactic. And that causes the friendship to break. And then that night, as Enrique was sleeping on top of the freight train, 6 men came up and robbed him and beat him for everything that he had. The train is just about to enter San Ramon, which is close to the northern state line. Enrique has been to San Ramon before, but he has gotten caught here, so he's not too familiar with the area. At the end of the section, Enrique is ready to put Chiapas behind him as he has now faced the beast 8 times and he has lived through it. Enrique feels very accomplished and he is very proud that he has been able to survive through the most dangerous parts of his journey. He ends the section of the book with lots of hope for his journey ahead and remains aware that there is still a long journey ahead, but he has made it through the most dangerous parts and that gives him some sense of accomplishment. I feel within this section of the book, the gangs really allow me to see the type of culture that Enrique lives with because I think it shows me that even though these men are in a gang, it's still every man and woman for themselves. So it shows me how independent Enrique's culture is because Enrique decided to descend on this trip all on his own. No one had to push him here. No one helped him to get where he is. No one helped him through the 8 times that he's been stuck. He took initiative and he went for it to go find his mother because that's how badly he wants her back. And I think that speaks a lot about their culture and shows that they are demanding and independent and will stop at nothing to get what they want.
Well, I don't know if you have any comments on this presentation.
I think that when she mentioned about the country was very independent, I somewhat agree but then again, I don't, because a lot of Latin American countries tend to be family orientated. So even though it's independent, like for example, me, I still do what I can for my family but if you're not part of my family, then it's kind of like I don't really have to do anything, especially in the situation that they're in where everyone is pretty much poor. So it's like I'll get enough just for me and my family, but you have to find somewhere else, I guess, to be able to support yourself because you're not part of my bloodline. But then Enrique fell into like drugs and stuff like that. So then they kind of ended up disowning him in a way because of how family orientated they are, they don't want their family name to go bad as well. So they'll kind of stay in a little group until one of them messes up, and then they kind of like kick you out, I guess.
It's interesting seeing that you are saying that, because when you presented on that chapter segment, when Enrique was running, trying not to be caught by the gangs, he ended up meeting with one more migrant his age, and the other migrant didn't want to ask for anything or go begging or go knocking on doors, but Enrique decided he would do it. And he knocks on this door, and there is a woman inside who actually provides him with food. And the context of the situation is that at that place, they really did not trust migrants. So that's the reason why the other person didn't want to go get. And in this case, they are not family.
Yeah.
And so I think it was an important point that Sonia Nazario maybe was making, that from time to time, no matter, the situation, no matter how aggressive or what is it, cynic or disappointed, or even disgusted, that's an extreme. People can extend a hand to another person, to migrant, that they may dismiss. And I think you were mentioning racism also in Mexico.
Yeah, because he really ended up getting lucky, if anything, because when Sonia like interviewed a lot of people, most of them would say like that they're scared to help people out. But in this case, like I mentioned, he got lucky because she decided to give him food because she saw how bad he looked. So as I guess a person with a good heart, he got food.
Yeah, and I think in the next chapter, for Enrique will see his face for the very first time after I don't know how many days. He will look at himself and he'll see himself for the first time, okay, in a while. So that's important to realize why she would give him something. She actually saw his face, saw how badly hurt he was, and so on and so forth. I wanted to, but I wanted to show you, and I will share my screen with you again, something at least about the MS, okay? Because Kate was talking about them, and the book has been talking about them. And I went to Wikipedia to obtain a quick information, a summary of this group. And here you have it. Actually, they use a number, and that's what I have here, MS-13. So Mara Salvatrucha, commonly known as MS-13, is an international criminal gang that, notice, I wanted to show you this because of this information. They were born in Los Angeles, California in the 70s and 80s. They are not from Honduras or from El Salvador. Notice where they were born. And why were they born? Because they were, they created a group to protect Salvadoran immigrants from other gangs in the Los Angeles area. Over time, the gang grew into a more traditional criminal organization, but it was there in California, in Los Angeles. where it was born. So how do they get to go, to Honduras, to Central America? We exported them. I wanted to make this point in case you didn't know about it. We sent them back. As it says in here, many MS-13 members were deported to El Salvador after the close of the Salvadoran Civil War in 1992. And here, and now the gang has been, spreading its wings, and we have them in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America, and even so a reference to Spain, okay? To a small, tiny group in Spain. Here in this page of Wikipedia, you have the information. So the last piece of information that is important for us, and if you want to research it, it would be interesting, okay? What took place? As an international gang, its history is closely tied to United States and El Salvador relations. So what took place between the States and this country in Central America, and what kind of war was happening in El Salvador, okay? So we're talking about international relationships and also economics, also politics, and more and more, okay? So I thought you at least should know a bit about the gang and how it was here and then in jail, and then some of them were, a good group of them, I guess, were deported. And Salvadorians couldn't do anything with them. They were not able to rehabilitate them, to provide these people with jobs. Some of them got out of the gang, but that was a very a small group of people that could actually get to be part of society in a positive way. So I'm going to stop sharing my page to let Gabby go over this important segment, which is devoured, because we have a character here that is very impressive. At least I was amazed by this person's actions. Her name is Olga Sanchez Martinez. Olga Sanchez Martinez. This is an incredible story. So Gabby, you have the floor.
Okay. The section I chose is called Devoured. It's from page 88 to 98. And this section really talks about not only the other people that were on the train and have gotten injuries from trying to get on the train, but also about Olga, who really helps anyone who's been injured. So on page 88, the author starts by saying, the migrants don't talk of the pilgrim train or of the iron horse. They have another name for this train, and they call it the train that devours. And I really think that sets the tone for how the train really just hurts a lot of people who are trying to get from one place to another. And so the chapter starts off with some information from the Red Cross that states that many of the migrants that are on the train either lose an arm or a leg or hand or foot trying to get on, and some people even fall off and are cut in half or decapitated trying to jump from one car to another. And then on page 98, we learn that the migrants try to fool authorities by passing themselves off as Mexicans. And so a lot of them don't carry ID with them. And so if they do die on the train, they are buried nameless and in a random graveyard with no one to visit them. And so I thought that was pretty upsetting. And then about halfway through the segment, we hear about a man named Carlos, who had fallen while trying to get on the moving train. And he was running with his cousins and he was trying to catch up with them, but he was debating whether he really wanted to get on the train or not. And so his hesitation made him fall behind, and he ended up losing his grip and losing his left leg and the use of his right foot while trying to get on. And so the doctors at the Red Cross found him lying there a day after, and they said that they were lucky enough to find him or he would have died there. And then at the Red Cross where they took Carlos, there was a woman named Olga who stays there and tries to help the patients, and many of them say they don't want her help and that they would rather just die because they wouldn't be able to work after they are healed. And so then Olga tells them that God has a plan for you and you will learn to live in a different way on page 91. And so Olga's backstory is in 1999, she turned an old tortilla factory into a place to bring migrants, where she was originally bringing them into her own home and helping them, where she learned different techniques from other doctors so she could help them. And she would beg for money on the corner of a street, and she would sell laundry detergent, clothes, beans, and sugar. And she would use that money to buy food, clothing, and wheelchairs to bring the people back to their families, if they had any. And she had a couple people helping her. She had a couple neighbors that were on the street, and then a couple of her neighbors by the factory. And they included a hotel owner, a hardware store operator, and a recovering alcoholic who would drive her around to pick up other migrants. And I wasn't really sure how to include something personal, but I just found it really interesting that she spent her whole life trying to help these people, because she had also had a lot of problems beforehand. I think it said she had cancer and that she survived through that, and so she really wanted to use her past to try and help other people who didn't want to live anymore. And I thought that was really good.
Yes, when what I'm saying is not that you have to make a personal reference to something out of what you read, but you can also you should try to make a connection to a cultural item, something that it's an issue, an important topic that pertains to society, and then relate it to what you read. That's my request for the class.
Okay.
I did find in my mind that I could, for example, to give you an example, let me preface this by saying that I'm not a reader of the Bible. Okay, I am not, just in case. But I know a few things about the Bible, and there is one major character, maybe some of you know him, called Job, J-O-B, Job. And I guess sometimes they, in high schools, they have made students read this translation of this chapter of the Bible. Why Job? Okay, why Job? Well, Job, it's a character in the Bible that suffers any kind of illness you may think of, and it's like put in a very difficult position regarding God. So he starts complaining and saying, God, why are you letting, life destiny treat me so poorly? Aren't you God? Haven't I been faithful to you? Haven't I given everything to you? And God is kind of silent, okay? So I guess the topic here is that to be a true believer, you have to be a true believer no matter what, and go on faith. Go on faith, okay? So I couldn't but relate what Job is going through to what Olga went through in particular. And the way, because sometimes, like on page 94, she says to God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? because she sees, you know, the migrants keep coming, they keep coming, and they keep losing limbs, and she has to take care of more. Some of them go, some of them stay, but this is an endless job, right? So she kind of complains, what do you want me to do? So it reminds me of job. But you don't have to be making a reference to something, you know, in that sense. It could be a movie, it could be something that you have read. For instance, if you know the story of Mother Teresa, I could have made a reference to that too, okay, pertaining to Olga, and how she kind of resembles that character that gave it all for lepers and people, destitute people in India. So that could have been, you know, a reference to something that is not exactly in the book. That's what I'm asking you to do. Okay, I think, let me see if I wanted to say something else here. I'm just gonna show you one more video that I've tried to show to you for a couple of class sessions, because I want you to see Sonia Nazario, okay? So this is going to be a short video, 3 minutes, and then I'm going to end the class, okay? Because I owe you minutes, so I should give them back to you. So Sonia Nazario.
Heroes, presented by the U.S. Army Reserve. For more information, visit www.
My name is Sonia Nazario, and I'm known for writing about big social issues. I grew up as the child of immigrants from Argentina. I got out of college when I was 21 and was the youngest person, I believe, hired at the Wall Street Journal. I think I was also the first Latina hired at the Wall Street Journal. I think the hardest part of doing this kind of work is that you see a lot of misery. As a reporter, you're not supposed to intervene and change the story that you're writing about, but it can be very difficult to watch that misery unfold. The inspiration for Enrique's journey was a conversation I had with my house cleaner. I learned that there were millions of single mothers heading north to the United States in recent years, and that by the tens of thousands every year, these children were making this incredibly dangerous journey to find their mothers in the United States, oftentimes traveling on top of these freight trains through Mexico. So many children who had lost legs and arms to that freight train. And yet I saw children who had tried 27 times to get through Mexico. In Enrique's case, his mother leaves him when he's just 5 years old in Honduras and comes to work in the United States, hoping that by doing so, she can send money back. There's been a surge in these children that are coming alone. They've been threatened multiple times by gangs or by cartels to sell drugs or kill people, so they're fleeing. I think part of the problem with this exodus of children coming north is that the United States uses more illegal drugs than any other nation on earth. Drug use is resulting in children dying south of our border. In 2008, I joined a group called Kids in Need of Defense. These children, when they arrive to the United States, are ordered to go to immigration court, but they are not entitled to a government-funded attorney. In this country, if you're a murderer, you are entitled to an attorney paid for by the government. But if you're a 5-year-old child who's come here alone, you are not. Kids in Need of Defense finds pro bono attorneys to represent these immigrant children. We've recruited over 7,000 attorneys across the country. I think I'll continue to really talk for people who can't talk for themselves. I'm working on a book now that looks at several major social issues in the US through women who are taking on those issues. So I hope to continue to take on these big social issues. When I was 3 years old, my mother gave me the nickname La Granuja. It means the troublemaker. So I think I like to stir the pot and get people to look at things in different ways. So my guess is I'll continue to be the troublemaker.
So that was Sonia Nazario. First time we see her, you know, in action, talking to us. So please expect me to post something pertaining to the TED Talk, and that something will be questions for you to address in a short report before you even watch the TED Talk, I believe. And I'll be seeing you Monday. Have a nice weekend, okay? Bye-bye.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Thank you.